fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Want more proof? Ask your rheumatologist about Humira.
What's your body of proof?
With Winter Storm Wilbur growing stronger, there is one place to turn to and to trust, taking you to the worst conditions, preparing you to stay safe. Every season, every storm, every time you watch, trust in the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 41 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, some clouds, low 35. Winds south at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tuesday, rain developing during the afternoon. High 41. Rainfall near 1/4 inch. Tuesday night, rain and thunder. Low 41. Winds south-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Spring's big challenge can be best told today by a tale of two cities.
On the left of your screen, New York, where you started today setting a new daily snowfall record in Central Park. But come the middle of the week, instead of silently falling snow, how about loud thunder and lightning?
And on the right, there's St. Louis. It was a crazy video you just watched on the top right side of your screen. Over the weekend, drivers slipping, sliding, and colliding on icy interstates. But overnight and into tomorrow, early commuters could find themselves dodging hail and heavy rain.
Just ahead, who's going from winter stings to severe storm danger day by day as this week begins?
Strap in because some of you are gearing up for a wild weather ride this week. I'm Leona Brackett.
And I'm Chris Bruin. If you doubt that, check out the big weather stories we're tracking for you. Less than 30 seconds from now, I'll detail the threat for severe storms that ramps up starting tomorrow.
20 minutes away, I'll detail the newest winter mess. Winter storm Wilbur, named just a few hours ago. Learn who could see a foot or more of snow from this winter storm. And spring ramps up the allergy misery. We'll pinpoint where the threat is rising and what specifically is fueling those coughs, sneezes, and itchy eyes. Chris?
And before we get to that, let's start off with the severe threat that will start as early as late tonight. They're so far so good as far as storms go. We don't really have much on the radar, but we are seeing a lot on the visible satellite. Notice as the sun starts to get lower on the horizon, we start to lose our lighting. So you notice the lighter color of the white. That's because the sun is going down now that we are in the evening hours here, especially on the East Coast. Still dealing with very low clouds and a little bit of mist around St. Louis, but nothing we can't handle. Kind of a soggy, cloudy, gray kind of start to the week, unfortunately. But we are going to bring in the chance for stronger storms as we head into tonight and especially on the day on Tuesday. Here's the deal. We've got our approaching and developing storm system with our cold front on the tail end. But out ahead of it, we've got this warm front and that moisture being pulled north across the region. And that will continue to drag off towards the east as we head through the middle of your week. So this is going to be an ongoing threat, not just tonight, but especially going into tomorrow and then beyond. We're going to continue with that threat for strong to severe storms even as late as early Wednesday. Okay, so here's our warm front that will continue to lift north, and exceptionally cold temperatures earlier today in places like Illinois and the Ohio River Valley. Those will start to warm up, so we won't have temperatures as cold tonight, thankfully. But with the warming trend ahead, it does pose the concern for some of these storms to produce isolated tornadoes and strong to severe weather. And again, those low-level jet stream winds are going to increase, and with that comes that threat for severe weather, including St. Louis, including Terre Haute, Indiana, over towards southern Indiana and Indianapolis, even Cincinnati as well. All right, here's the timing on this. Again, pretty quiet until after the sun goes down, and then after dinner time, we'll see a cluster of showers and storms, some individual pushing across southern Illinois into southern Indiana, and we'll continue to to watch this after midnight tonight and then going well into the wee hours of tomorrow morning. So by the time you're waking up for classes here, trying to get to work and school, it could be very difficult trying to drive through some of these torrential downpours, Liana. Heavy rains from Indianapolis over to Louisville, and minor flooding could be a concern as well, with some of these rainfall amounts topping over an inch or so an hour, and some of these torrential downpours that we'll see continuing through the afternoon tomorrow.
And Chris, these storms have the potential to pose threats at night, just like you showed us. Atlanta, you're also one of the spots that could deal with that. Live view at you. Pretty sky view right there. 81 degrees is from our Cobb Energy Center camera, and you can see the sun gleaming off the building right there to the right of your screen. But with that said, the warmth, all that sunshine, it's really leading to a very severe threat for Atlanta as we get into tomorrow. To Tuesday night, we have the threat for thunderstorms, and this is new. The latest model runs have actually pushed forward that threat, and it's lingering now into Wednesday morning. Those temperatures still very, very warm as we get into the 70s and in 60s tomorrow. Tomorrow, medium shear, high lift, low instability, and medium moisture threat. All of these make up our slim. And in fact, if you look at it visually, we have all this warm, moist air coming up ahead of this cold front. This area in the orange out west is the highest available storm energy as we get into tomorrow. We also have this low-level jet stream with all this wind energy picking up, and this area right here is the area of best lift. And with that said, this area right here that was pulsating right there, that's a likely shot of seeing that severe weather. We have torcons of 3 and 4 across the region, meaning you have a 30 to 40% chance of seeing a tornado. So definitely keep an eye on the forecast and keep an eye on the sky. Chris?
Well, one area we always have to watch is known as Tornado Alley. Jim Cantori shows us where it is and why it gets its name.
When you look at Tornado Alley, it encompasses a large part of the United States, east of the Rockies, up to the Great Lakes, down to the southeast. This is all a part of Tornado Alley, and some places are obviously more active at different times of the year than others, and sometimes it moves. Tornado Alley moves a little bit. But what sets us up in the United States? Why is this, like Stephanie said, so prone to tornadoes? Well, first of all, you just look at what happens here when energy moves over the Rockies. It creates low pressure at the surface, typically somewhere in the Texas Panhandle or up into southeast Colorado. Air is going to come rushing in off the Gulf of Mexico. Warm, moist air. So there's your fuel. Two things you need, fuel and wind shear. So if you can change the wind direction with height, if you can add fuel to the mixture, you've got a chance to get rotating thunderstorms. There's also another little thing in the United States that makes us so prone to tornadoes and severe weather. That's called a dry line. You know, all that warm, dry air that sits over the Rockies gets shoved out across the high plains almost every day. We call this a dry line. It goes out during the day, retreats at night. This thing floats out every day, and it also helps to trigger these storms as well. It acts just like a frontal system. So here we go. Let's talk a little bit about this wind shear, though, because this is one of the most amazing things, and this is what makes us so prone to tornadoes, especially in the heart of Tornado Alley. All right, I'm going to get down here a little bit and talk about this because we've got wind coming in off the water out of the southeast. You know, that's our low-level southeast flow bringing up the moisture. But aloft, you've got winds out of the southwest. And those winds are a lot faster typically. And we use a term in meteorology that we look at for severe weather and supercells called deep layer shear. All right. And when that change is about 35, 40 knots, it's usually conducive for some pretty big tornadoes. And we've got exactly that shaping up for tomorrow. So Tuesday, we are looking at parameters like this deep layer shear. And this is kind of what it looks like. And what's really wild is sometimes you can even see this in the morning before the outbreak. You can see it in the cloud patterns in terms of these horizontal rolls. And that's essentially what it is. It's a horizontal roll in the atmosphere. So now we've got this tube just sitting there. But what happens is when the instability kicks in and you get the dry line punch or a cold pocket aloft with the upper air system, you can take that horizontal tube and tip it in the vertical. Now you've got a rotating thunderstorm. There are other things that kick off the tornado, but a rotating thunderstorm gives us a chance for damaging wind, huge hail, and sometimes tornadoes. But more times than not in the United States, tornadoes. And that's why we have such a large and active Tornado Alley.
All right, thanks, Jim. And speaking of Tornado Alley, let's circle where that is exactly on the map. And that's here in the middle of the country. The states you're more familiar with getting tornadoes like Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Nebraska, and the Dakotas. But the threat for tomorrow, notice how it shifts a bit off towards the east. Again, it's still really cold back across the plain, so not going to see the risk for severe weather there. However, Memphis, we're under the gun for some of these strong to severe storms, even the isolated risk of a tornado. Now, starting off the morning, very